We are live with the whiteboard extraordinaire, the best analyst in the game, the top player in the game, and on a gorgeous day. Jack, sign me up for weather like this for Game 5 of the World Series. I'll take it right now.
Yeah, I mean, any week. I think this is, the next few weeks coming up is, where we hope to get the best play. It's not too hot. Towards the end of the season, you're dealing with the opposite extreme. It gets really, really hot.
Yeah.
And it's hard. And, I can already see us complaining that Saban picked black uniforms.
Correct.
Why did he pick the black uniforms? And he wants us to wear black pants. Also, there's a lot of internal talk about that. But, the next few weeks, when it's like this, it's a pleasure to play. It's cool, it's great, and spring baseball.
It's crazy how cold it's been getting at night. And then in the afternoon, it's like gorgeous. Last night I was out for dinner. It was freezing. We were freezing.
Yeah, you need the sun. You need the sun to be shining. And you have a chance for days like this. But if it rains in between during the week, it's really not much we can do to get the fields ready in the counties that we live in.
Yes.
Kind of our hands are tied and we're at the mercy of, we have to have bitachon in the mayor of Tinton Falls.
Tinton Falls, Ocean Township, Eatontown,
yes,
Monmouth County.
We do so much.
Yeah, this was definitely a weird one. It was really nothing we could do except the only thing we could have done was play 2 games at Deal School in the morning and 2 more in the afternoon. We could have pushed it, but it's only week 2, and I think if we get week 2 in before Passover, I think we'll be just fine long term.
I'm even good if we miss. If you just stop it here, let's just call it. If we're ready to call it, I think there's an eclipse today. Maybe,
yes.
We just call it. Start after Passover. Give us 3 more weeks.
Okay, so we're here with Jack Abady, first of all. Jack, explain to us what's going on. You left the field mid-game last week. Is there an injury issue? Because no one from the Warriors were complaining that there was no game yesterday.
Right.
Nobody from that team had any problem. In fact, Bub and Roland texted me how much they fully supported that the fields would be way too mushy to play.
It's crazy. I got a text. I think it was Thursday when you announced it. Was it Thursday that you announced?
It was Friday.
I got a text out of nowhere from Mark Braha, who just wrote, "Hashem loves you." And I just was feeling great about it. I said, "Hashem loves you also." I didn't realize what was going on. And then I checked my phone, and I saw the games were canceled. Earlier in the week, we were talking with my father, and we were just like, "I really need a rain out." And he's like, "But you're not getting one."
No,
so
it was gorgeous.
You're not getting the rain out, so you got to change your mind. You got to flip your head, and maybe you'll get a rain out this week, week 3, and you'll only have to play 1 week. So what happened was, going into the season, I was feeling great. Was getting a lot of work in. It was a tough week the week before. My mom passed away, so I felt like I really wanted to be on the field as much as I could, the week of the opening week.
Yep.
And we came, and Saban came and played first, and KJ was hitting me ground balls, and we were able to hit, and it was really, really great. And then Friday afternoon, before Shabbat, Michael Cohen and Jackie Haber and a few guys wrote there's going to be a hit around on Avenue S and McDonald. And there have been hit arounds on Avenue P. I don't know if you're familiar with the 2 different fields.
Avenue P is smaller.
It's very hard. I can't really hit. So if I go there, I'm just going to only play the field because hitting is just, you don't want to deal with it. There's kids and there's streets and there's stores that are all in reachable distance.
No, that fence.
And the trees the trees are bare, so there's no leaves knocking down the balls. You hit a missile out there, it's going onto the street, then you hit some guy's windshield.
So you need the leaf now. You did not need the leaf 2 years ago.
For sure not.
Now you need the leaf.
Right, now we're looking for the leaves. So Avenue S is a little bit deeper and left, and it's fun. There's like a train track, so you can try to hit it onto the F train.
Right.
So I said, you know what? I'm in. I'm going to go. Whatever. I dropped my son, had a Friday softball thing by Marine Park. I dropped him off, headed over to Avenue S, walked out on the field, and YDE is practicing. But still, they're letting Jackie Haber and MC hit, and they're going to let me hit also. Jason Sullivan, nice guy, said, we have practice, but you guys came. Why don't you guys work in with us for a little bit?
And then to their field.
Right, exactly. So while MC was hitting, I was playing shortstop, and the shortstop there is not in a good shape. I think the township of Gravesend, New York, needs to take a look at the blacktop there. But the ball was hit like 1 step or 2 steps to my right, and I felt like I was on ice skates. I went to go field the ball, and I did a full split.
Wow.
And when I did a split, I heard a pop, and I felt very uncomfortable. And, you know, a couple of seconds later, I was just stretching it out, trying to figure out what the hell happened. And it wasn't so bad. I was able to like jog a little bit. I still swang, and I was fine. I hit. But, you know, after 10 minutes, they're like, okay, we're going to go to another field. I'm like, guys, I don't think I can go to another field. I want to go, you know, see what's going on.
And you're probably thinking, I mean, you knew it wasn't that serious.
I knew it wasn't that serious, but I said, what is this? You know, what's going on? I have, you know, 1 week, 1 day to really get ready before opening day. And I got to make sure that, you know, I'm able to play for the team. So that day and the rest of that Friday and Saturday, you know, icy hot, biofreeze, ice bandages, physical therapy, trying to get it right. To the point where Sunday morning I had, you know, like the power dot stimulation. I was stimming it till no end on an endless repeat. Felt okay. It felt decent. It definitely felt like I needed a runner. Called Saban, you know, spoke to Saban in the cages actually when I showed up Sunday morning. I said, you know, Roland was in your slot. Can we put him in my slot? Other than that, I had no limitations. You know, hitting or fielding, I felt okay. It didn't feel too bad.
Okay, good.
But it's all, you know, with the head of taking it easy. That was our head. My father was driving for an hour to deal, and I'm just like, you know, take it easy on third base. Just take it easy. It's week 1. I'm going to be better in a few days. If you don't mess it up, I'm going to be better in a few days.
Easier said than done, knowing you.
Knowing me, and knowing him, knowing me, you know, definitely. But in our heads, we were like, okay, this is what it's going to be.
But your father in his day, when he used to play tennis with Jaime Gindi back then, I don't think he was ever able to take it easy either. He was pretty competitive himself.
Yeah.
You can't tell an athlete. We deal with it all the time when someone's dealing with an injury. Like, oh, I'm going to go 50%, 80%.
It's very
it
very
doesn't
difficult.
seem to work. Either you're totally hampered or you're just going.
It was an injury that I never had before. Never really hurt my hamstring before. So I wasn't sure what it would take to re-aggravate it. You know, how I heard it was a fluke injury of, you know, me really overextending. You know, I can't do a split on a normal day. To go and be, you know, full spread out on the floor was something that, you know, I wasn't, you know, accustomed to doing. And I said, okay, I'm not going to do that. I just will avoid the split and I'll be okay. Walking onto the field, it was a very soft infield. So already I'm like, okay, I take one step, I'm up
very
to, you know,
soft.
my shins in dirt. Take it easy. Okay, still taking it easy. And then you hit a ball in the gap and it all goes out the window. You know, I'm, you know, running my best. I wasn't running well in looking at the video.
Right.
But I feel like I was moving okay. And then I saw my father like doing this. Like, so I think I'm going to score. He thinks I'm going to score.
Listen, there was a shot you hit in the gap.
That's the shot that I heard myself.
Obviously a home run. Like, off the bat, that's a clear home run. Even for you when they're playing so deep, it was clearly a home run. And then it wasn't. So we knew something was up.
Coming around second, when I saw my father, like, telling me to push it a little bit, I took a couple of steps and I heard another pop. And then I knew something was wrong. Got the runner. Went back out into the field. There was a ball that off Jake Braha's glove that I went to go get, and I kind of jammed my leg into the dirt. Heard it again. We got out of that inning, and I told Saban, okay, we're gonna move Jake to this. We're gonna move to.
So now listen, okay, you have 1 more week, and then you have 21 days in between games. So really,
the diagnosis came down. I went after the game to get it checked out. And it's a partial tear of the hamstring.
Okay.
Which sounds horrible. I didn't know what that meant. When the guy told me that, I said, okay, what does that look like?
Yeah.
And he said 2 to 3 weeks with constant physical therapy and rest, 2 to 3 weeks. So in my head, that means DH. You know, just DH, or maybe I'll play third, you know, less movement.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've been doing a lot, acupuncture, physical therapy almost every day.
Wow.
Really trying to get ready for this Sunday because I was planning on playing. This Sunday I was planning on playing, and how much I was going to play was depending on how I felt. Definitely was going to try to have a runner in my slot, but we didn't have to play this Sunday. So now I'm not, you know.
So really you are so lucky because there's no way in the world, even me dealing with this league now in year 6, There's no way when the rain stopped on Wednesday, it didn't even rain on Thursday, did I ever think we even talking about a cancellation. And in fact, I sent the schedule Friday morning. I sent the schedule with the fields and everything was good to go. I was shocked that we could not play on those fields. This field is just ridiculous. Not to get into the politics of it. We should be here on Sunday and we'll be back to normal. Everything will be good to go. Hopefully. We never know. Clearly, we never know anything. That's what we've learned from this stupidity. But you are so lucky that you didn't play because now you have 2 weeks in between the games.
And every day I get a lot better. Like even waking up and putting my feet on the ground today, no pain, no nothing, bowing for the Amidah. I'm very, I full stretch in the hamstring.
Full stretch.
I definitely think that getting through this week and getting another 2 weeks without a setback is key. And in my head, it's really about the stretch run, being 100% after Passover, whether it's 6 more weeks of games or 5 more weeks of games.
Right.
That's really where
it'll be 5 more weeks of games after Passover.
Maybe possibly. So that's really what my focus is. Hey, we want to win these games on Sunday. We want to put our team in the best position. But you could be 4-0 before the break. Where the teams win and the history of this league is, weeks 5, 6, 7. You want to be clicking. So that's when I need to be 100% and not hobbling. And that's where my focus is for the team. But I know that the difference of game 1 and game 2 last week, when I'm out in the field, there's a difference. It's a different vibe. There's a different atmosphere. Having to come and talk to the pitcher from the bench versus being right in his ear on every pitch and trying to police it while things are going off the rails.
A few things to go through with that. First of all, why are you the field captain of this team or is it Saban? Why are you going out to talk to the pitcher?
Hi everyone, Ruben Shehebar of Genesis by Ruby and administrator of the new WhatsApp group Growth with Torah. I'm privileged to be here in Israel. Baruch Hashem, my group and I have been lucky enough to hear from many great rabbis sharing with us the everlasting word of Torah, the undisputed word of Torah. In YMSL, the league that we love dearly, it's a subject of countless opinions. And unlike the undisputable word of Torah, opinions are only worthwhile to the person who believes them. In YMSL and sports in general, the team that wins is not the team that's most talented, but the team that's most committed, the team the most disciplined, the team with the most heart. And I can't wait to get out with you all in week 2.
This commercial break is brought to you by Fonz Fired Pizza, proud sponsor of the YMSL. Ain't nothing better than getting saucy with Fonz. Reach out to Fonz Fired Pizza for any occasion. We got you covered. And don't forget about our signature frozen pies. They come in various different flavors. Stay saucy, my friends.
The field captain of this team or is it Saban? Why are you going out to talk to the pitcher?
So Saban is the captain of the team. I mean, clearly you pointed it out in your interview with Abe Haber. If I was captain, how I envisioned some of the decisions being different. And
if
Saban,
you were really going to do that,
Saban,
did you fully?
And you know what? I have my reasons to think that was a good defensive alignment. Right. We are so flexible with all our infielders that really there's nothing. We've learned that Jake Braha could play short the way he played when I went out. He made a couple of great plays, I always felt that even after the draft, I called him. I said, you got to be ready. Everyone's got to be ready. Saban is great. He listens. Me, him, and Mocast are talking every day. Yeah. And he listens, and then he does what he wants to do. And I think that's on our end. We're okay with that. I think we all signed up for Saban's team. Hey, I have a voice. I can share an opinion on something, and he listens. He genuinely weighs it. But you know what? If you're a captain, you want to be responsible for what you're putting out there. If he loses and it's Jack making the decisions, I don't think he would be comfortable with that, being that he's the captain of the team. No. So, for me, my focus this year was coming off the injury. I just want to play. I want to focus on my play. I want to be available for the team. So, having him, being able to run the team and make the decisions, I think is best for the team and what's happening so far. Now, in the actual on-the-field play, like you're saying, I think that being a shortstop and being, a little bit of a different voice than Saban. Saban is a little bit of, comes across a little negative towards his pitchers, and can get frustrated easily.
Doesn't
so I think
like
the
free pass, Saban.
No one likes the free pass. No one likes the free pass. And hey, we're not trying to walk guys, and we're going to try to avoid it as best we can. But, you know, whether it's a ball dropping in the outfield that shouldn't drop, or a play in the infield that isn't being made, you know, we hear Saban constantly. It's not like he's keeping his emotions to himself or his how he feels about some of the plays that are being made or not made to himself. So it's important for me to also be somewhat vocal in the infield, because the sky isn't falling with every walk or with every dropped fly ball. I think that, you know, more of a glaring issue this past week was, you know, we picked a team where everyone 1 through 10 should be hitting, and, you know, the middle of the lineup didn't hit for one reason or another. And I think it was an outlier. I don't think that's going to happen again. But, you know, it makes everything else magnified when you're scoring 2 runs in a game.
Yeah,
so now a drop fly ball
matters.
You know, every play matters if you're playing that style of ball. So we got to hit. We got to make the plays for sure. But I think that, you know, on the field, it's a combination of good cop, bad cop, where Saban will, you know, tell us how he feels, and rightfully so. And I got to be there to say, hey, guys, you know what? We're coming up with 4, 5, 6 next inning. If we get out of this with 1 or 2, it's okay, and kind of navigate our way through the innings.
Now, why was Yak unable to have the strength and endurance to go through 2 softball games? If he's a real pitcher, why did he tire out in the beginning of game 2?
I don't think necessarily he's unable. I was viewing it as we have a luxury. You know, you can say Maxi D needed a second pitcher also. How come he can't? He had to lead 7-3, but he can't close out, you know, Jody LeBeau's. Maybe he had needed Ralph Hannon to come in and pitch for him.
Can anyone close out Jody LeBeau's?
No.
I don't think so.
But I think that, you know, week 1, everyone who's warming up and practicing, pitchers and catchers, spring training, you're throwing 60 pitches, and then opening day, you're going to pitch 120? No, they're pulling you after 80.
Right.
So it's a building up process, and I think, you know, as much as he's throwing BP or warming up, how many pitches are you really throwing compared to a full 2 games where stress on every pitch, you know, and we have Ralph Hannon, and I think it's tough for Ralph Hannon to come in middle of the game. We've learned and we've seen was a little bit of a tough ask. And it might have been better if we just said, hey, Ralph, you get the ball the full game too. You know, he might have performed better. To bring him into a game, I thought, you know, it was the end of the bottom of their lineup, and in the middle of the game might have been an easier spot. It didn't work out. You know, no matter.
Although you did give him a clean inning. It's not like he came in, it was second and third.
10-1-2.
And he walked 3 guys in a row.
And he got out of it. You know, at the end of the day, that's he didn't give up any runs in that inning. So
which
you
is
should
crazy.
be ready to go for the next inning. But I think that, you know, my head was, after I got hurt at the end of game 1 and I came out of the field, it got a little bit interesting to close game 1. They had the tying run at first, the winning run at first.
Yeah.
Tying run at the, you know, the go-ahead run by Insurance at the plate. You know, it wasn't such a, you know, smooth finish. And then game 2, it started with a couple of walks in the first inning. He got out of it. Then he got hit hard a little bit in inning 2, and he gave up a run. And I just felt like our head anyway was giving him 3 innings and pulling him after 3.
Really?
That's what we agreed on. And I just said, you know what? This might be a good spot to put Ralph in. Maybe he doesn't have to face Farka in his first inning or his first batter. Maybe he could get out of this inning facing just Jacob Cohen and DK, you know, and we can survive. It didn't work out that way.
Meanwhile, in game 1, 5-3 final, like you said, you guys got the benefit of a Bub line drive that looked foul, very close. Closer than people are making it, but I thought it was foul or whatever. That was a big shot. I don't know if a run scored there, but it ended up leading to runs for sure.
We scored 4 runs.
He scored 4 runs in that inning.
It was 1-1. 2 scored on Bub's hit, and then 2 scored on my double in the gap.
So that was a huge. Oh, your double was right after that.
Right after that.
Oh my God! So that was a huge
Triple.
moment in the game. And then also you had the play where Henry was
1
called.
scored on Bub's, 2 scored on mine, and then he hit a fly ball to Farka that he dropped. Yakov, and then the 5th run scored.
Right, now when he dropped it, it would have been a sac fly anyway? Or
it would have been a sac fly, but then that run never scored. So the drop never...
Didn't really matter.
Right.
Okay, fine. So
Matter.
but between those runs that scored on Bub and then
Yeah,
everything that happened after on a foul ball, maybe he pops up the next one. And then also Henry called out for leaving early when the video shows he did not leave early. You guys got the benefit of two major calls.
Call David Saka. Call David Saka. Call David Saka for a new vehicle.
Hey, this is Jonathan Eliezer, YMSL two-time champ. I just want to say that David Saka car leasing has exceeded expectations. When I moved to Florida, he was pretty much waiting there for me with the car, ready to go. Excellent pricing. For all your car needs and all your leasing situations, get in touch with David Saka Car Leasing. Nobody better, and thank you to the YMSL for connecting me.
Call David Saka. Call David Saka. Call David Saka for a new vehicle.
One, and then also Henry called out for leaving early when the video shows he did not leave early. You guys got the benefit of two major calls that you could have been looking at 0-2 suddenly, believe it or not.
No, everything's different. Yeah, suddenly everything's different. I think, if I don't pull my hamstring coming around second base, maybe we win game 2 also. So, the breaks are what the breaks are. There was a call in game 2 where they called Ralph Hannon out at second. That was close. I have a gripe with the technology department of the YMSL.
Okay.
I love the fact that we're recording and we're doing the videos. But mid-game, if we're not going to allow replay to come into effect to overturn calls, we shouldn't be showing the teams in live time that the umpires missed the calls.
No, we never do, really.
I saw that Henry didn't leave early within 30 seconds of coming into the dugout.
From the scorekeeper?
And then I saw that, the Bub play, and I saw that Ralph Hannon was safe at second. I said, what does this benefit? All it does is get me more agitated towards the umpire.
Fuel
and
to the fire.
If you think the umpire messed up a call, rather than, you know what, no one knew if Henry left early. It was a weird play in the outfield for sure.
For sure, because
and
Joe
you know
was
what?
coming
If you're
over.
not looking at it, you could have said maybe he left early, maybe he didn't. Now, Henry himself was saying he didn't leave early, and very good. But once you show proof within 40 seconds that he didn't leave early, how we felt about it and how they felt about it, and in regards, I think it just escalated too much, and it should be something that's, talked about on Monday rather than,
for
in
sure.
live time.
And the scorekeeper should not do that, and he knows that. That's not a new scorekeeper you had either. That's a veteran score. We have a rookie this year, but that was not the rookie being trained under J Money. And also, people always ask, can you send me my double? Can you send me my triple? We tell them, don't send anybody anything, We also have the case of, Victor Cheeto showing up and filming an alternate game, and then films get out there, and you hear some interactions between people. That's different, but the scorekeeper should not be sharing that. My issue with the leaving early, as you know already, is the sell job by Yaakov running, and, he didn't leave early, so you can't say I saw him leave early, So him charging to the second base umpire, and the umpire is at fault. The umpire has to make the right call. What is an umpire's job? Make the call. If the umpire didn't see him early, how could you call that he left early? Okay, that's one issue. But something that just drives me crazy is this specific call, the leaving early call on a play where there was no play anyway. It's not like there was a throw to third base and Henry slid under the tag. It was a non-play anyway, and then you steal an out on that. It drives me crazy. Am I crazy? This drives me nuts.
You're not crazy. I think that it's interesting that, in my opinion, a lot of calls every call is being sold one way or another.
Yeah.
Whether he's safe at third, out at third, strike 3 from second base, he's out. Every call.
Third base coach saying safe.
Now, but the umpires are good enough and professional enough that no matter what, if Jimmy Malach says, on a strike 3, the umpire could say it's a ball, and it's not going to get affected by. We don't feel like there's an effect on the outcome that the umpire makes based on, when people are cheering or trying to sell the call.
Right.
This one, it's because it happens after the play. It's not bang, bang. I remember, David Bracker used to always be, at short center, calling the guy out for the umpire and then, thinking he's affecting the umpire. And I don't think it has any effect. When the umpire's looking at it and in a split second has to make a call, he's going with what he sees or what he feels. This is a play where it's 20 seconds after the play is over, and the umpire's mind has to process, what did I see? Did I see him leaving early? Did I not see him leaving early? There's 10 guys screaming at me that he left early. Maybe I thought I saw what I didn't see. You know, and there's no play at the play.
That's what kills me.
Like if there's a throw to third there and he's safe and it's bang bang, and you know then leaving early makes a difference. You know, yes, technically in the rules you can't leave early. We don't. If he left early and the video showed he left early, even if there's no play, we want him called out because that's the game. But without not being a play, and he didn't leave early, it's definitely a tough situation that we want to avoid. You know, we want to tell the players to, you know, it's sportsmanship. It comes down to a sportsmanship type of aspect of it. And that if you don't see it 100%, you know, maybe let's not try to, you know, SY Fifth Avenue salesman, the
Fifth
umpire.
Avenue salesman, the alley marshal
you know,
line.
exactly. But I do think that in this case, it was just it was a weird play in the outfield that gave reason to maybe think he did leave early. You know, I didn't see the play. I was going out to get the ball. But right when I turned around, they were all screaming step on second. And right when I stepped on second, the umpire was right away, you know, calling him out. So
it was a weird play because it was to Bub eventually, and then Joe Chira, like, solar eclipsed him, went in front of him,
called
sort of.
for it. It was such a windy day.
And it kept drifting.
That, you know what, it was tough. The ball looked like it was hit to, you know, the center fielder in the right center gap and ended up right away and straight away right field.
And then Bub caught it on a
stay with him because
crouch.
he was like backing up. Bub was just there to back up, and then he's realized the ball's coming right to me. You know, what am I doing here? So tough play, and the runner and Joe Chira kind of cut in front of Bub.
Yes.
And you know what? Like, and then the umpire made up this whole story in his head. Like, you thought the center fielder caught it, but he didn't catch it. The right fielder caught it, so you did leave early because you thought the center fielder caught it. You know?
And the umpire doesn't know Henry or anyone else, but like Henry never left early in his entire life. You know, like he sort of waits. Okay, anyway, moving on. You mentioned Fifth Avenue salesman. If you're Ali Marshall, are you petrified about how your team looked on Sunday at Racetrack 2?
No, I think there's a lot of overreaction after week one. There's a lot of, you know, this is the best team now. This team's for sure in the playoffs. JT's offense is unstoppable. You know, after week one, maybe only the MVP was decided. Other than that, I think that everything else is still in play. Teams that are 2-0 could also not make the playoffs, you know, or they can make the playoffs. It doesn't mean that they're going to succeed in the playoffs. I think, you know, you can't overreact from one game. The conditions early in the season are always a tough battle. And when you face teams, you know, matters. You're facing a team that also at 0-0 feels great about themselves. If you face the Rays in week 6, they might not be the Rays that came into the first week of the season. So, you know what? They got a tough draw. You know, they fell behind early. A guy had probably the greatest day in YMSL history.
Crazy.
You know, and hey, you can't believe that the team that you picked after 1 week is all of a sudden, the house is on fire. I don't think so after 1 week.
Right.
I know that, you know, the best guy to assess situations like this is like a Mo Haber. He knows when his team's really in trouble and I got to make a deal versus when I could stick it out for a couple of weeks and see if the ship is righted.
What a great call, because on To the Moon a couple of years ago, that was the, I forgot who won. Maybe that was the Knights year, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah.
He was 0-4, and then he made the move. He didn't make the move at 0-2, but he made a big trade at 0-4. Other years, 1-3,
Mo Money, he was 1-3. He knew not to make the move.
He knew
and
he
was
almost
was 0-4 in that year. You know,
Correct.
He started 0-3. He didn't win his first game, and then it was like a walk-off win or something.
It was a comeback win. They should have been 0-4,
right.
but he knew he had the personnel to just stand.
Yeah.
So you're right. So Ali's got to make that decision. The question is, does he, let's say, even keeps his personnel? Does he change positions? My sources deep in Houston, deep down in that clubhouse, are telling me there's positional changes coming already in Houston.
You know, I don't think that's necessarily a problem. I think, you know, everyone now has seen what they've had for 14 innings in the field and in the lineup also. I think that, you know, certain guys moving guys around and figuring out what you're because you're building towards something. I think, this is no one's team is a finished product after 1 week or after 2 weeks or after 3 weeks. I kind of liked this year having that all-star break of Passover after 3 weeks to really reassess. And that's what I was telling, my team was, let's get through the first 6 games. Let's try to not tweak too much. And then after, for the final 4 weeks, we'll have time to think about what we want to do.
Yeah.
Because Jake Braha went 0 for 6. You know what? He wasn't feeling so great. He didn't have a great day. But Jake Braha's not going to go 0 for 6 again. So all of a sudden, I'm going to bat him 8th because of 1 week.
No.
We picked this guy. We believe in this guy. We're going to roll with the girl we brought to the dance until, she leaves with somebody else. So right now, I think that you got to have faith in the guys. You got to have faith in knowing guys and their track record and their history of what they've done.
Right.
We've seen last year Marty had a terrible start and almost won MVP.
Correct. Started 0 for 7 or 1 for 7.
So you can
But you're right.
that.
But you're saying that at 1-1. You could say that at all at 1-1. At 0-2,
But I think people are trying to make it.
It's
that
scary.
The 5 team is making it even more scary.
It does.
It does and it doesn't.
Right.
It's a little bit in your head. There's a lot of games left.
Yes.
And you might get yourself in more trouble by trying to reinvent the wheel and 10 years of history and all of a sudden there's no position for Ali Marshall to play. He cannot play the field. He's a DH. He didn't go from the greatest player of all time to there's no place. You can't hide him. How do we hide Ali Marshall as a conversation? I don't believe it after 1 week. It was a tough week.
The more concerning thing there was the Shalou brothers, both of them batting 3 and 4 or 2 and 3. Those are powerful hitters.
They themselves will tell you they didn't hit.
Right.
And you know what? Give a little credit to Eddie Harari. He's also a guy who coming
Great
in with a chip on his shoulder, thinking that he should be the third pitcher taken or the second pitcher taken, and he's won 2 Cy Youngs and being a little bit overlooked, saying he's got to learn a new pitch, he's got to learn how to pitch on the corners and all these different things that he's heard. Yeah. He came focused and he had a great day. I spoke to JT right after he said Eddie was on.
Yeah, Eddie's in a great mindset also. He never reacts when there's an error. He's just focused, laser focused.
We've seen the Shalou brothers long enough to know that, one bad week's not going to define their season. Mm-hmm. They're going to be great. They're scary when they come to the plate. And, it's up to Ali to kind of block out the noise. The noise is loud. And he's hearing it all over. His pitcher, he might needs a new pitcher. He needs to move. His lineup stinks. You know what?
Right.
Go watch the whiteboard show again. Feel good about your team.
Yeah.
Everyone loved your team.
We did.
And I think that
don't prove us wrong. We liked your team.
I think he's gotta, have a little bit of a sense of urgency. You want to come out focused and ready to go in week 2. Doesn't necessarily mean you need to change everything going into week 2.
Right. Okay. The other 0-2 team said this is going to be a hard-hitting interview. What do you do if you shimmy? You're 0-2. You lost to a short-handed team with Jeffrey Saka batting 7 times. That's not a sweep that you can just sit back and take.
I also think the game 1 they got beat. They got beat game 1, and half the league got beat game 1. Half the league got beat game 1. Game 2, they weren't showing any signs of life through the first 10 innings. They didn't score a run, or they scored 1 run in a blowout. Yeah. And just from watching the videos, the body language looked, down and negative, and they came, saying the right things, but it just they got jumped on early by a rah-rah team that,
couldn't believe they walked through game 1.
And then they go and they explode for 7 runs in an inning.
Yeah.
And you're up 7-3 and you're saying, okay, as bad as it was, we're get the split and we're feeling good. Just like Zach's team could get mercied in the game 1. You're driving 100 miles an hour to the city after you get that split feeling great.
Oh, yeah.
And that feeling of winning the game 2, supersedes the bad feeling of winning the game 1.
For sure.
So up 7-3, everything that we did and how we got there, all the problems are going to be wiped clean. Everyone's getting a fresh start. The chat will be on fire this week. And then they blow it twice. Like, they let them chip away a little bit.
Right.
And then they got an insurance run. You were saying the
Uri
Adler insurance.
They called Uri, but they should have called him for the car insurance as well. They didn't call him enough. They only scored 1 run. You got to call Uri back again.
But up 2, and you have you invested so much in the pitcher.
3 outs.
So much in the pitcher that you know, it's a tough pill to swallow. And again, for them, it's the way they lost game 2 is it's even harder to stay with the ship.
Yes.
You know, because you blew it. Ali's got his own problems. We weren't in that game 2. We lost 16-8 or whatever the score was. We got to get things right and, you know, come forward. This was like, we blew it and, you know, you're feeling almost worse about yourself.
I think so.
But
There's
I
a
don't
dark cloud
think
now.
that after 1 week, no matter what's going on, you know, it's time to just, you know, throw in the towel. Shimmy, they made you a captain. You know, you were almost unanimous choice for captain. You know, not every year you're going to pick the team and it's going to be the greatest vibes, or you're going to pick the team and it's going to be easy, you start 4-0.
Yeah.
You know, to be a great captain and to stick with it, you know, you have to battle the adversity. You have to show that you're capable of overcoming an adversity, whether it comes in week 1, week 4, or week 7.
Yeah.
So, not easier said than done. I think, you know, he kind of made this bet, though. You pick the team. You pick all these guys. And you know what? No one else, there was a reason why no one else picked these guys. You know, whether justified or not, talent-wise, no one's questioning, and that's why, you know, we looked at them. They're the hardest team to grade, because in a vacuum, on paper, in history, in career stats, it's the greatest team, you know, assembled offensively, defensively, and the pitcher. But yet, chemistry is a factor.
It's huge.
And, you know, certain teams are built only on chemistry, certain teams are built only on talent.
We have the widest array this year, the only chemistry and the only
we'll see
talent.
what works, you know, but I think that, you know, they proved that they could have won game 2 and gotten away with the sweep. They let one slip through their fingers.
I guess you got to
Who
take
do they
that.
play this week?
I guess you got to
Play
take
Jackie
that.
Towel?
Yeah.
It's you know, it could get late early, but even if they split this week and they get to 1-3 at Passover,
1-3, you're fine.
You got to avoid the 0-4.
Yes.
You got to try to win game 3. It's, you know, you got to come out early in the morning, 9 a.m. and be ready to go. You know, from the first inning, from the first pitch of focus.
Listen, you got to get to 1-3. You don't want 0-4.
Yeah.
Although, To the Moon was 0-4.
No, you're never out of it.
And they were in.
And that was a 5-year.
In a
also.
5-team format, they were in at 0-4. But if you're 1-3, you're a week away from 500. So
Agreed.
you're fine.
Agreed.
1-3, you're fine. Like,
Agreed.
many
Because everyone
teams have
says
been
that
1-3.
7 is definitely getting you to an extra game or to a spot or whatever it is.
So we think.
It's been that way in the history.
That's what
There's
it
never
usually
been.
Right.
You know, and then once we went to 6 teams, then all of a sudden 6 comes into play or 5 comes into play.
Yeah,
and
5
that's
comes into play.
That's what we got away from that.
5 comes into play, like one hit, everyone knows the rules. All those teams are 5-9.
And the team that went to the finals was 5-9.
Yes, Los Caballos.
Los Caballos was 5-9.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay, Sal Vallis, you brought him into this league, basically, right?
Yeah, one of my best friends.
Yeah. Okay, so Sal Vallis, if he takes over shortstop and handles it, this guy becomes a top pick. If he could handle shortstop, he's a Wednesday night pick, and there's nothing to talk about with his bat.
I mean, I think he was pushing Wednesday night pick at short center. I mean, to me, we talked about it a little bit on the whiteboard. Steven Shalhoub revolutionized the game in a way where he showed that short center is such an important position. I think the only reason why Sal went 28 instead of 15 and 16 where Yak and Jimmy went was it's really been the first year he put up over 500 and slugged 800.
With power,
and Jimmy and Yak and these guys have done it in leagues and night league, day league, and for you know, for 4 or 5 years in a row. I think, you know, if Sal on the regular just hits the way he hit last year, or, you know, drives in runs and hits power and hits big shots, he was going to move up into the discussion of Wednesday night from his bat alone.
Yeah.
Because he's a great short center defensive fielder.
Yeah.
Now you're saying he can play shortstop in a league that, you know, year to year we don't know what's going to be at the shortstop position. Guys can come back, and there can be, you know, 3-4 guys sitting on their couch that can play short.
Is Mark Braha ever coming back?
You know, he says he might. He says he wants to come back, but he told me he was going to come back this year.
Yeah, so
maybe
what's
he gets
stopping
one more
him?
year. And you know what? The further you sit out and guys prove they can play shortstop, you know, your job's not guaranteed when you come back.
Not only that, the worse you get, the more you sit out.
I would think so. So, you know, I definitely think it's going to be, you know, fun to watch. I think on the plays that the balls are hit to him, you know, he's going to make the plays. He's got a great arm. I think it's going to take some time to get used to. The angles are a little different.
It's funny you say that.
He went back on a ball and almost made a ridiculous diving catch that he probably should have made. The ball was in his glove. It just felt like it fell out.
That's why he was so upset.
You know, yeah, definitely.
But let me tell you something. He's good at the ball not near him. I've seen him make diving plays.
He's definitely
He might be worse with the amount, the quantity of ground balls he's going to get at short. Like it's over and over and over and over again. You get, I don't know how many a game, whatever.
I also think that, there's something that develops when you're new to a position, especially shortstop, that I personally experienced. I filled in. Joe Eshko got hurt on the Tigers. I moved to short very early in the season.
Yeah. And
you're playing the whole season. It's great. Everything's going great. You're making great plays. I'm getting Charles Sacker to walk off the base and tagging him. Everything's going great,
Unacceptable, Charles.
And then you play, in a playoff game. The first ball hit to you. Mo Cass hits a chopper to me, and I think I have time, and I throw it into the parking lot. Then Mo Haber's running with a hurt hamstring, and I want to throw it hard. All of a sudden, if you're not used to it and you're not playing year after year at shortstop, it's one of those positions where you can't hide. The ball's going to come to you, and it's going to come to you again and again and again, and confidence is key. So Sal's a very confident guy. Just talking to him, he exudes confidence in everything that he does. But that's the biggest challenge at shortstop is you're going to make an error, and you got to want the ball hit next to you. You can't say the next play hit to you. You can't say, like, give me a break for 2 plays and don't hit the ball to me. You got to want the ball constantly, and you got to just, shrug it off. You make an error, you make an error. We've seen Zach make errors. We've seen Gabe make errors. Shortstop is not the outfield. Coming from the outfield where, you could go 10 years without dropping a fly ball. Mm-hmm. And you're used to always making the great play. Everyone's praising you for the plays that you're making that no one else is making. Shortstop is, what defines a shortstop is making the routine play.
Yes.
You're not expected to make the outstanding play, and Zach can make it, and Gabe can make it, and great. But you got to make the routine play to keep your team in games.
And like they always say, it's recovering from the error because you're going to make an error. Even Mosham is going to make an error. How does he not let that get in his head for the next play?
And it's tough, and it takes reps. And I think the fact that, he's been gearing up to play, short center, and now for the last couple of weeks thinking about playing short. I think this extra week gave him a little bit of time.
Yeah.
He's got to be out there. He's got to be taking ground balls. He's got to be making the throws. He's got to feel like a robot. You got to do it.
It goes to show you if you report for work on it, do your job, something always opens up. Like you mentioned with the guy in your team, Ralph Cohen, all of a sudden he's playing second base. As opposed to Ruby Shahabar, Gems by Ruby, who has always demanded a certain amount of playing time. He went from what should be an 8th or 9th round pick down to a 12th round pick because of his demands and his attitude on the bench.
And I don't think you need a demand. I think there's enough with the no replacement rule, and with 12 guys on a team only, and with guys
playing
missing,
time rules.
We had a couple of years where traveling was out because of Corona, and people weren't going. Now people are back.
Yeah.
People are going. People are missing weeks. It happens, whether for unexpected reasons or known reasons. You get your chance to shine. You got to take advantage of the opportunity. I think Ruby had a chance in our game. He was on the Tigers. He played left field. He made 2 or 3 errors, in the first 2 innings, and everyone got nervous, and we put Joe Ashkenazi back in the outfield.
Right.
When you get your chance, you got to take advantage of it. Ralph Cohen didn't want to catch, and I wouldn't want to catch either, but you get picked 94 on a team that has a loaded team at every position. You're going to catch, but yet week 1, all of a sudden you're back. You're at second base, so he didn't hang his head.
Right.
He came ready. He looked great as a catcher for the first game, and now all of a sudden, innings 6 and 7, and game 2, he's playing second base and making plays. So when you get called upon, you gotta take advantage.
Meanwhile, if you embrace the catcher position, you don't know how much fun it could be. It is the best position. It's every single pitch,
so
every
important.
single play.
You're in on it.
If you talk to your pitcher and you get the trust of your pitcher, you see how much in sync you could be. Like, I don't know, there's just, you talk during the week.
And I think on our team, for our, talking about our team a little bit, it's important. We don't have the pitchers that have, a decade worth of experience with Yak. He's our ace. And with Ralph, I think he needs positive reinforcement. He needs a good catcher. I think, the best thing for Ralph would be to be on a team with Jigga.
Right.
I would love to see what he could do, because we know he's able to win games. We know he has stuff. He's been the number 1 seed with the Rockies. 10 years anniversary of when Ralph Hannon was the number 1 seed. He's been
Untouchables was the Rockies year?
Yeah, they were the number 1 seed.
Wow.
We were the last seed.
I remember that year very well. I don't remember that was the same year.
He's gone through it. He's pitched. Everyone's kind of making how could you have put Ralph Hannon in the game as if we pitched, David Rishney.
Right.
This guy is a pitcher. Of course we put him in the game because this guy was getting tired. We needed him to hit, and we have a pitcher at our luxury. Now, he came in. It was a tough situation. Didn't work out. It's week 1.
It wasn't a tough situation. It was a clean inning and bottom of the order.
Coming into the middle of the game, and with Yak pitching well enough that people were asking the questions.
That's a tough
what? Once you walk the first guy, and there was a small zone. It was a tight zone. And he doesn't really have the get me over 3-0 pitch, Ralph. He's a pitcher. Every pitcher's competitive. The 3-0 just throw a strike. It's not his game. And you know what? He'll tell you it didn't go well for him. Does that mean we're done with Ralph Hannon? Does that mean we're giving up on this experiment? I don't think so. I think we have what we have. We're going to try to win games, and we're building something to have the best team come June. And, it might be with Ralph Hannon and probably with Yaakov.
So you're right in the general theme that sometimes you get too high or too low after week 1, especially when week 1 is going to have 14 days in between, etc. The Rays are flying so high. This kid, Isaac Indy, thinks he's never going to lose a game in the YMSL. He's in for rude awakenings. I mean, he went 3 for 6. 2 of them are ground balls to third. He should be 1 for 6. Yeah. So he's in for rude awakenings. You're going to
play on a field where the wind isn't blowing out, and the bases are 62 feet, and not every
someone's going to make a
triple.
Diving stop against you.
Yeah, you know what? And I think that their time will come, and you know what? They'll bounce back. They're a good team. They have a lot of leadership. They're a team. So let's see what it is. But after week 1, you're only as good as the next game. They could have a fist fight in game 2 if things don't go right in game 1. Things could change so quickly in this league.
The reason, if I'm a Tampa fan, I'm excited was because Joey Cohen, he looked so good at short. He looked so good, different than I remember, and maybe that's my fault.
He was hurt for a long time. Those last few years, he was hurt. His shoulder was bothering him, and he was hurt. And if you're, hurt, and what's the difference? The difference between injured and hurt, So if he wasn't injured where he couldn't play, he was just hurt. So he's gutting it out, but he's playing compromised. So you're not the player that you were.
Yeah.
I was also very impressed, and whether he deserves a shout out or not is by JT playing right field both games. And you know what? He played with this nonsense that he's the center, just as good and whatever. Maybe he is, maybe he's not. But Shalom Bayit is key. And if Joe Greenberg's gonna go 8 for 9 with 3 home runs and 3 triples, he's the center fielder. He's good enough to play center field. So Jackie, you've played right in the past. You've won a World Series.
It's a no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer to just say, but it's hard for him to say it. It's been hard for him to do it. The fact that he just did it to me was a good sign for them.
And you know what? If you went with JT in center and Joe G in right, fine. Just do it. I don't like switching in between. I don't want to know, I wonder if he was in center this game, if he hit that shot in game 2. I don't want any of that. Get your positions. Go to your positions. Like Abe Haber said, get the most reps at your position all year as you possibly can. I'm not saying if someone leaves because of injury or whatever, you don't go. Of course, we know. But, get to your positions and just run out the year the way it should be. I agree with that. Okay, Dano's team, cool runnings. You had some words with Dano back and forth. You were questioning who's the captain of this team. Are we
questioning Saban as the captain? Dano doesn't make any decisions on his team.
Who's making the decision?
Farka was saying, should we play 3 outfielders or 4 outfielders for Jack Abady? Dano's sitting there having a chat with Troy about, how beautiful of a day it is, and his team is discussing. There's a guy, Leo Pachodo, is running back and forth. He went to the outfield, came back to the infield, and then went back to the outfield. Dano didn't say a word. I don't think he knew who was up. So then, after I said something to Dano, like, Dano, you're the captain.
No, you said, who's the captain here? He goes, I'm the captain. You got Dano.
Yeah, he's the captain, but he's not acting as a captain. Maybe he's, he at least in that moment, he wasn't, taking charge and saying, we're going 4, we're going 3. He was just letting this, charade go on. And then finally, Farka made the wrong choice. So that also helped. It fueled me to, have a little bit more work.
Farka went with 3 or with 4?
They went with 3, and then I hit the ball in the gap.
Right.
That was the at-bat. It was a big at-bat. Bub had just broken the tie. So that was the debate. There was 2 on, and, a single did hurt them also. But I think you got to be.
Also, you got out a couple of times in this week. You had a ground ball to the pitcher.
But I think when I see 3 outfielders,
your eyes light up.
Yeah, I think you're swinging a little bit bigger. When you have the 4 outfielders and you can't run, also, so legging out a double isn't really in the cards.
Right.
I think you're trying very hard to put it where you want to put it and hit a single and hit a line drive. Now you're playing 3 outfielders, and I could just split the gap, and I can swing hard as I want. With 4 outfielders, you can hit the ball to the moon, and they're there. So it doesn't pay. It's more of a
Also,
a
like
different
you
type
said,
of approach that you're taking as a batter.
If you're injured, you're not stretching that single up the middle into a
Right.
double necessarily.
And
so
I
that's
think
a big
that
factor.
the whole idea of the indecisiveness kind of also like motivated me for the at bat. The fact that like you're gonna play me 4, okay, now you're gonna play me. You're gonna play me 3.
In other words,
I used it as a fuel of like walking the guy in front of me to face me.
if it didn't come up
If
and
you
it was
just
just
said
a
we're going
mental
3,
lapse,
no, they're just saying we're going 3 because this is what we need to do. We can't give up a single, and it's
Right.
more. But the fact that like they were thinking about it, and they were like, "This guy is not going to be able to." It's more important that we cut up the single here. Kind of opened up the idea for me to crush one and go left center.
and on the way, knock Dano on the way by saying who's the captain.
No, yeah, for sure. And then coming off the field, I think I had more words for him.
Yes.
After I think you made the wrong choice or whatever it was. But all fun and games, and he took it well. At the end of the day, sometimes I say words to Ti, and he wants to, he takes it too personally.
Right.
So I think in that moment, Dano took it well, and you have to just take it at that point. After I hit the ball to 350 feet, you got to take it.
Yeah.
And his team fought till the end. They came back in that game, and it was a tough game. Game 1, 5-3.
For sure. Okay, Ti. You mentioned Ti. Let's talk about never again. He went with the red shirts. Always risky.
Always questionable.
Always questionable. Although
The last team who wore red was not. It broke the trend.
the Aces were pretty good.
Yeah.
They were in the semis.
Yeah.
You beat them in
Yeah.
3, but everyone knew you were going to win that series, the Kakambas.
Yeah.
I don't know why everyone knew that, but it just seemed that way. Eddie Rishti was on that team, Maxi D and Mavora.
But that was the first red team to make the playoffs in a while.
Yes.
Before that, it was really.
It was years, yeah.
So.
Yeah, because it was
T.I.
Mean
chose
Machine,
red.
there was Rough and Rowdy, there were a couple of forgettable squads
Right.
on the way. But T.I. went with the red, white, and blue, the Jewish star, the whole thing.
Yeah.
His team hit, the field was terrible and ground balls are going all over the place, but
Yeah, but
there were
there's
a
no
ton of line
There's no
drives.
but.
a
I
ton.
mean, yeah, there were, and they felt good. But when it's 4-1 and 6-1, and now all of a sudden the line drives are coming. When you hit a ground ball to third and the ball just stops before it gets to Nabi, or a
Or
regular
turns
fly
right.
ball is an adventure, and teams have to play 4 outfielders just because the elements were so ridiculous. I really learned the least amount from that matchup, just because the teams were resilient. The games were played, and it was happy that it got a split. But what can you learn from a team where the elements were so heavy? It was another factor. It was a real factor in the game. I thought when we played Sunday, it was a little windy. The fields weren't so great, but the teams were in control.
So you can't. Okay, but I'll tell you what you can learn.
You can learn that the jungle's not going to shut up. And you know what? After getting blown out, they hung together, and Leo bounced back a little bit.
Yeah.
And you learned that Teddy's team can be good.
So we're not.
a player.
It sounds like we're not learning much from Teddy's team. I learned from the jungle a couple of things. I learned that Bird could handle right field. He looked good in right amid
And a
the
tough right,
gusting
and a tough right.
winds. I mean, that right field ball was curving 20 feet.
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
going
no,
20
it was
feet
not
different.
it wasn't a normal. It wasn't normal.
I also learned they're not going to shut up, but I didn't learn that because I know
but
them. They're not going to shut up.
On Teddy's team, you learned like what you said to Abe Haber, is that Nabi is Nabi.
He's still there.
Is that what? I don't think that the 16 runs or the 11 runs that they scored in game 1 is going to happen too much for this team. They got it. It was a great win, and they take the runs when you can get them. But even if they struggle offensively, if they make the plays and Naby's on the mound, they'll be in every game, and that's their ticket. You know what? They had an offensive outburst in game 1. I think it's an outlier still, looking at their lineup. Are you relying on Sammy Estes for triples, and every ball is going to be over everyone's head, and they,
Right.
I don't know if that's necessarily their formula to win, and I don't think Ti is going to fool you and say that it is. I think they know that, we have some speed, we have Allen Jamal and A.B. Cohen, they'll run the bases, and maybe on the mound is still the toughest pitcher to go, and I think, Abe Haber just said it casually about Maxi D, the second best pitcher, but, it's starting to become something where, Max, the swimming was 4 years ago.
It's amazing you said that
like
because
you gotta.
I noticed when he said it so cavalierly, so nonchalant that he's the second best pitcher, where a couple of years ago we were saying it's basically
After
neck and
swimming,
neck.
And after the next year where Cherokee, where he was on the orange team.
Yeah, slapping the base.
And he was horrible for the second straight year. You know, it was almost like Max was the better pitcher.
Yeah.
You know, and now a year and a game later, you know, Navy has a World Series beating Max, or half beating Max. And then now week 1, you know, it looks like, you know, I think if you polled the league, it would be, you know, 87% that Navy is the best pitcher, and that's just going to fuel Max to come back. But when you have the best pitcher in softball, you can't say this team is horrible.
The thing was also, Navy was the one that always blew the lead, even on slapping the base. Right. He blew a crazy lead in the last inning in a play-in game, a 2 or 3 run lead to Lisa Carrier.
He's not the captain anymore. He's learned from that mistake of picking the team. He knows that he can just focus on controlling and shutting teams down. And it's hard to get the last 3 outs. You know, they always say the last 3 are the toughest, right?
Yep.
But it's hard. It's hard to get those last 3 outs. You're going to blow leads. Mariano Rivera, you know, 97 and 2001. You know, those are the years he blew the leads. It happens. You know, you pitch long enough, you blow leads. But you know what? Ask anyone on any team, would you want Navy on the mound for your team? You know, you would want it. And I think that's what got them so upset with him saying he was traveling, is that more teams would have liked to at least have the opportunity to say,
what happened with that? You're on the committee. What, in your view, what went down?
I still don't know the facts.
I know.
You know, I don't, you know, the podcast was kind of shedding light to the fact that he never had plans to go to Israel, and this was a conjured up scheme.
Right.
That he saw what happened last year by saying he was going to miss a couple of weeks and then being able to play with Z, you know, and winning a World Series. That there's no way, if he didn't go to Israel last year, that he doesn't go number 1 or number 2.
Of course.
So it worked for him last year. All of a sudden, there's another trip to Israel. Now, you know, I don't know. I was under the assumption, even through draft night, that he had a flight booked, that he was going, you know, to Israel, and he didn't go. But if it's a real lie, and that
what do we do if it's a real?
If that, they make it like it's fact. I don't know to say otherwise. It's been stated in the ether that it is a fact that it was a complete lie, and that's a bad look.
If he went 12th overall, and then we found that he lied, it kills everything.
It does kill everything.
Kills everything.
It does kill everything. And I think, thank God he won last year, missing the 2 weeks, because people said that even if he's missing 2 weeks, I can still figure it out. He still shows how much value he has.
Yeah.
That even missing 2 weeks, there was a team crazy enough to trade up, 2 teams to trade up to try to take him at 3.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's still not the right thing to do, because you know what? Saban just won with him. And it was very easy for him to welcome me on board on the team, you know, when he knew Navy was missing 2 weeks.
Correct.
And JT had the pick that he wanted, and I wanted to play with JT, and Ali traded up and wanted to play with Nay. And then, you know, there was a lot of teams that no matter what, the movement was there. Teams sacrificed other picks later in the draft to move up.
Yeah.
You know, it can't happen again. I think that there's been enough backlash to see that it can't happen again. And, you know, I don't know what the solution is. The solution is he has to send you a trip itinerary. You know, you're making us try to ask for receipts.
If you ask for receipts, then no one will put anything down, and they'll say, "Oh, I went last minute." They won't say I'm missing a week if you're not allowed to play when you say you're missing.
No, not that you're not allowed to play, but at least I want to see a $1,000 credit card charge.
Right.
You know, Jimmy Malak was showing a flight that he had, and that he, you know, was talking about flight numbers.
Then people are saying he photoshopped it. Why?
Right.
I'm too busy dealing with hay in Memorial that I can't deal with photoshopped itineraries.
And to me, I don't think that. I think it's a different case with Jimmy, because I think Jimmy wanted to play with us, and it hurt him us thinking he was missing weeks, or missing a game, or possibly a Friday when playoffs were coming in. You know, we took a bat in that spot, and Saban and Jimmy and me, we all have a relationship. Us thinking that there's a question mark a little bit by Jimmy and nothing by Yaakov, you know, kind of made it easy for us. So I don't think that necessarily Jimmy would do what he did, had some kind of master plan. You know, I think it just ended up working out where he was able to get out of it, and he didn't have to go.
You see, with Nate B, it sort of worked out, as they said on the podcast, that he went so early, therefore we could, you know, I don't know, do basically nothing. Like, if he went late, it still ruins the rest of the draft. It still ruins the plans of other people.
No, I think if he went late, you might have had to suspend him.
You'd have to.
And now you don't. So the only thing that's different is that where he went. You don't think that that's just a weird precedent. If either you're making a precedent,
that's
or you're not.
why it's a problem.
So if you would have suspended him if he went 12, you're not suspending him because he went 3.
I wanted to suspend him.
It was never brought to a vote.
It was. I said I think we should suspend him for a week. And I don't think it should be off the table. I mean, you can't lie and say you're not going to be there to draft your tank your draft position, and then be able to get away with that.
And T.I. did not know.
T.I. definitely did not know.
Right.
For sure did not know because
so he's assuming he picked him 3, assuming he was missing 2 weeks.
Correct. So whatever, but it's a terrible.
It's a tough look. I think it's got to be. It has to be a rider into the contract signing up that any kind of tampering is open to suspension.
Yeah.
If we find out, then it's open to suspension, and it's hard because this is always the first one.
It's
so
so
the rule
tough
wasn't in place
because you want people to say when they're missing, and you don't want to. What if they really do change? Israel, the war could explode. You don't know, and then he really did change. And you're not going to let him play.
Right.
So we always say this is what his plans are.
You don't want guys here not playing. We don't want suspensions. We don't want guys sitting on the sideline. I'm on this team and I'm not playing.
That's why it's so difficult. So
we don't want manipulating the system. We're above it. We're not a professional league. Like you said, with all the things that we're doing and all the stuff that makes the league great, we're not the Major League Baseball. Our umps are who our umps are. They make mistakes and sometimes they stink.
Our fields are what they are.
Fields are right. As players, we are what we are. We go out there, we make bonehead plays, we make errors. We're not great. So you know what? We got to be above the nonsense and we got to be above the manipulating and all that stuff. Because that's just added. That's extracurricular, and it's like you said. The things that are the problems are the non-sportsmanship types of problems, and that goes to it. I mean, hey, trying to manipulate your draft status to play with certain players or to get on a better team is not a good sport, and it's not the right way. And you know what? He's a great player, and he deserves to get picked early.
Right.
And everyone needs to know what's going on. And hey, if he's going to Israel and he's traveling, he's allowed to do that. He can miss weeks. You're allowed to miss weeks. And you know what? You can still win. So
I just got to say, after the first week of play, there's a lot of good stories going around the league. There's a lot. I really think it's going to be a very fun year. Golani's situation is interesting to watch. JT and the Rays, some young kids. Your team with Saban, the 2 pitchers. Dano's team is always a riot. The Jungle, not going to shut up, like you said, all year long. There's just T.I. is always interesting. There's so much going on. I'm very excited for where this year is going to go because I really have no idea what's going to happen.
For sure, and it can be a year where every team's bunched up and it's crazy and it's exciting, and it could be a year where a couple of teams fall off the rails.
Yeah.
And watching reality TV meltdowns in front of our eyes can happen also.
That's what I'm trying to verbalize. Exactly.
There's definitely a lot of storylines. So it makes it the greatest league. I think we also pump up the storylines. There's probably storylines in Wednesday Night Basketball League in the center, but there's no show and there's no podcast and there's no discussion and there's no chats talking about them for a week straight, and then another week straight, and then So I think that
if Ali goes 0-4, he's gonna lose his mind. I mean,
Shimmy too. Shimmy goes 0-4. He might resign as a captain mid-season.
Hand it off to Mo Haber. Give the reins.
And trade himself. I don't know. It could really be, and I think
gotta love the Mo Haber redo of when he's 2-0, 4-0. All he wants to do is discuss softball, and it's his life and everything. And now that he's 0-2, it's we're going to Vegas as a family. There's so many more important things in life, and we'll be fine. Everything is not so urgent all of a sudden with him. It's a great reinvention.
I think he knows how to play it. I think he knows what his team needs from him. I think he knows, him pushing the panic button wasn't going to make the situation better.
Right.
And there's not much they can do. After week 1, I think they've tried to make a few moves. I think, they've tried to pull the trigger on some deals, and there's no deal for them. So they need to,
no deal, Howie.
They need to get together and figure it out because no one's coming to save them. There's no bailout. The bailout ain't coming.
Amazing.
The government is not coming to save them. no one, everyone's kind of excited. The other 7 teams are hoping that this team explodes. And they're hoping that, there's one less team to worry about. 5 teams make the playoffs. Let's all watch it burn. Let's buy the sunglasses and watch us eclipse.
And we'll be there to cover it all for you.
So to them, they got to battle their way out of it. They got to band together and make it the rallying cry, us against the world. And no one's better than that, than Mo Haber and a Jimmy and a Jordy and, playing with the chip on their shoulder.
So
and hopefully
great.
they do get it right, because you know what? It only makes the league better to have those guys in when it counts, and, having the characters in the league. We don't need them in the booth. We need them on the field.
Yeah.
And, so
like when the Pickles started winning some games, it got fun. When they started rallying and getting it together, and if they get in, they're a tough team.
But
if
what did they start?
If,
what did they start?
1-3, 2-4. I don't know if they ever got to 500, but it was 6 teams. And they were in on the last day.
Right.
They really screwed up in week 6, I think. They needed to sweep Shake and Bake. They won game 1. They should have won game 2, and then they would have been in the driver's seat for a playoff spot. But whatever. Okay, I can't wait for Sunday. It's going to be great. We're going to play. Feel better. When do you? When is your month over? When do you? We're going to play. Yes, we're going to play.
You're saying very confidently.
Yeah,
the weather doesn't look great.
No, we got to play.
But the weather doesn't look great.
We got to play. I'm not letting that.
Sure?
The
weather looks rain on Thursday, Friday.
I don't
Saturday.
even hear him. We don't even hear this. This is.
I'm not saying me.
This is distraction.
Hashem, what he does, but it says it looks like
rain.
rain.
When do you get to shave? What day?
I think Vav Nisan or Zion Nisan.
Okay.
So Tuesday's Rosh Chodesh, a week from Tuesday.
Okay.
So it's going to grow in a little bit thicker.
A little grayer.
And
then we're looking forward to see.
But then I'm going to grow it back for the Omer,
Okay.
Grow it back for the
But
Omer.
you're going to go complete shave.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go complete shave, because if you don't go complete shave and then you got another 33 days, it's really going to be long.
I also think you're in mourning. You want to... This is not a good beard. This is not a fashionable beard. You want to kiss this beard.
You have to shave it a little bit.
Right.
There's some talk of people telling my father to trim it. They like the look of the white, but he's gonna take it all off, and I'll probably take it all off.
I think take it all off. I don't know. Do what you want, but I would
the trimmer. I don't know if you go with the the old school rubber face. I think you go with the back of the trimmer.
I want to see
and
the
it goes
baby,
down to the zero.
The baby face Jack Abady for a week, and then like you said, Passover, Omer, whatever.
Right.
Okay. Jack, we loved having your father at the field. Have to mention that as well. That was awesome to see him escape for a few hours from everything.
Yeah.
And
he enjoys it. He loves being around the guys. He loves being around the team.
It was so great to see him there. My father was there, hugging it out with him. Yeah. It was awesome. And all right, listen, we miss your mother already. What an iconic person. Seriously. Is it amazing to you, after hearing everyone's stories and everything, really, that there's other mothers that the whole league doesn't know, but just the volume of her voice and the excitement and energy was just palpable, that everyone must have told you, I remember when she told me this, and the Amy DeWitt clip and all that.
For sure, and also, everyone having the same story, it's the same different people from all over the place, and all saying, the message was consistent.
Yeah.
It shows, she was,
it shows it was real.
And real.
Yeah.
And, we definitely miss her a lot, but, it's funny, you'll see Maccabee clips on the live stream. I'm not even playing. We're in the hospital, and I'm in a different room, and I see I love Zach on the bottom from Michelle Abadi. Zach's number one. It's just so funny that she just bought into the league. She bought into what her kids loved and what they loved. Became genuine loves for her.
Yeah.
She comments on all the YMSL videos.
Always commenting.
There and
Always.
commenting, and she really got into it. She knew it. She knew the league. She knew the players. Driving home from, the field, wanting to call my father to figure out what she's ordering for lunch, but also how did we do and who played it.
Right.
Detailed descriptions of the game.
She has to know what she's walking into.
Right. She wants to know detailed descriptions of, how did Leo look, and was he getting ahead, and what did he do against this guy, and did he play 4 outfielders, and, all the talk of around the Shabbat table of what we're going to do on Sunday.
What happened?
What happened, exactly. Right. Actualizing it.
It's so funny. It's hard to believe that really happened. Okay, great stuff, Jack. We love you. Great job. You brought it. And good luck on Sunday when we will be playing softball.
I'm ready to go. I'll be ready to go.
Good.
But if we don't play, I'm also okay with it.
Okay, so there you go. There you have it from Jack Abady. second overall pick, as Z was slotted in front of you this year. It's the second overall pick.
There's a curse of the number 1 overall pick.
Is
Did you
there?
know that?
What, they don't win?
They get hurt.
Oh, no, we don't want that.
I don't want to say that on anybody.
We don't want that, but
I walked in last year with my boot, and I bumped into Eli and Erwin Gindi, and they said, curse of the first pick.
Oh, really?
They said, call Stevie Fallis. And this one, the first pick, it might have been in the 70s. It might have been in the Deal Softball League. Maybe, I don't know if it carried over to the YMSL, but it seems like it's an urban legend and known. For your summer interviews with Marabia, maybe bring up if there's a curse of the first pick. Because
listen, you got to get Stevie. He's got to see Sal play. He probably has no clue how good Sal Fallis is now.
Yeah.
You got to get Stevie to the field.
Fallis is in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he's a sick
One
hitter.
of
He was
the number 1 overall pick and got hurt the year he was the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah.
But yes, he's got to see Sal. You get a lot of knockoff from seeing your kid shine and be great at something that you were great at.
He's got to see him because Sal wasn't great a few years ago. He's got to come see it.
He came a few years ago and left wanting a DNA test.
Right.
This is my son.
Right.
You know?
We got to get him back. All right, Jack,
sure.
Great job. Thank you. And we'll see everybody back on the fields on Sunday, hopefully. Thank you.